guys, welcome back to the homestead. So today it is rainy and nasty outside, and I thought, why not show you how I'm going to try to water glass eggs. I have never done this before. So right now I am sorting eggs into a jar, and I'm picking only the cleanest of the clean, and I'm being really picky. Like, even that is too dirty for me right now. So leaving that in these. We have a ton of eggs. We have regular customers, people buy our eggs, but chickens go through a section of the summer where they just lay eggs so much more than they usually do. Like, you'll have an abundance of eggs, and that's where I'm at right now. The ducks are laying an egg every single day. Most of my chickens are laying an egg every single day. Most of Josie's chickens are laying an egg every single day, and we only have more chickens coming up, getting ready to lay eggs in the next few weeks. So what I thought I would do is try water glassing eggs. That's where you stick them in a jar, put pickling lime and water in them, and it preserves them, from what I understand, to the point where they'll be really good for things like scrambled eggs or in recipes. And that sounds great to me. We went through a time of 3 months this winter where we had no eggs. I really think it had to do with the fluctuation of temperature and the fact that some of our laying hens were a little bit older and the other ones were a little too young. We kind of had this gap where we didn't purchase any chickens, or the chickens that we had purchased had been killed. And so we had this like age gap in our chickens, and I think it really hurt us this year. So what I'm looking for in the eggs is cleanliness. Calcium deposits are fine. I don't know if you can see that. These little nubbles here, supposedly those are fine, but you want to look for no poop. I am happy with this egg. It's clean. It doesn't have any poop on it. And so I'm just going to pop it in the jar here. Jeez, like that. Eggs that have poop on them, like this one, no go. They're going to stay here. Eggs can sit on the counter for a month unwashed, and they will still be good, because they have a protective coating called a bloom on the outside, which protects them from any sort of bacteria or anything. And I know some people are like, oh, you leave your eggs on the counter for a month. It's actually completely normal in other countries. I was a missionary with my family in Mexico for a while, and that's just how they had their eggs. We thought it was so weird. And I didn't know these things. And I was like, why are your eggs on the counter? Well, that's because they can sit on the counter with this protective coating. And now I know, and now I keep most of my eggs on the counter. So like I said, we're trying to use up eggs, and I have done hard-boiled eggs, a recipe I call Walls of Jericho. I tried a kind of custardy thing the other day. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see the different things that I've made. We've done quiches and scrambled eggs. I put an egg in my coffee every single morning. I'm very egged out right now. So, water glassing it is. Often I see people use like old pickle jars. I had some, but my kids took them. So what I'm using is just a wide mouth 2-quart jar, and I'm going to see how many I can get in here. I'm curious. People post these little reels and stuff all the time of how they're doing the water glass eggs, but they never talk about actual realities of quantity that they can get in a jar. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in here. And as you can see, the jar's not quite half full. I am hoping to get 20, possibly 24. I think it'll depend on the size of the egg. Obviously, if I'm using a larger egg, I'm going to get less space versus if I'm using a smaller egg. But neither one of these eggs will work because they both have poop on them. Now, this one kind of tricked me. It's a little bit spotty. I don't know if you can see that. It's got spots all over it. I love colorful and spotty eggs. It's not poopy, though. I thought it was poopy. I was like, oh, no. This whole batch is bad. No, not the case. Yeah, like I said, we're trying to use up eggs, and water glassing seems to be a great way to do it. But water glassing just allows me to have them on the shelf, and if I ever had an issue where I couldn't get eggs, let's say a fox wiped out our entire flock, or we had something happen where we were not having that. This is in my pantry. This is sitting there, and I'm working really hard this year to fill my pantry. I want to have a pantry that has enough things in it so that if we had an issue, like we live an hour away from most bulk food stores. And so if we had an issue where we could not get to a bulk food store, I could have access to things still. I don't want to be perfect, but I would at least have some things. Again, I open this and there's plenty of poopy eggs, not a lot of clean eggs. So the reason that we get poopy eggs is because chickens poop. And our ducks have gotten into the coops, and ducks create eggs that look like this, which I know, warning, it's poopy, but that's what they look like. Go wash my hand. Because the ducks are a very wet creature, they spread the poop more. So we got our ducks separated now, and so we're getting cleaner eggs, but some of the eggs are from batches still that were not as clean. Oh, and like this egg is cracked, that will not work for water glassing. In fact, I have to throw this egg away. But actually, I was wrong. I didn't throw it away. I gave it into our pig bucket. We let our pigs have all of our food scraps, so it doesn't go to waste, and they get fun snacks. 21 eggs in this jar, and that is a mixture of sizes, and there is some space in here. So I'm actually going to probably pull these eggs out and see if I can adjust them just a little bit before continuing. The next step is going to be getting the pickling lime and the water together. I currently do not have any pickling lime that I know where it is, so I need to go see if I can find some, and if I can't, my mother will be bringing me some later today, and I'll finish this project later. What I will do now, though, is put all of the eggs in the jars and get that prepped. So all I have to do is pour the pickling lime water over, seal the lid, and I'm done. It's that easy. Hey guys, I'm going to do a little bit of a voiceover here. I have my scale, a strainer, my quart jar, pickling lime, and I am going to put 1 ounce of lime into this bowl, and then I'm going to pour it into my quart jar. So the quart jar already has water in it, so when I put my 1 ounce of lime in there, it will start incorporating. You can see that it gets a little bit dusty. Just be careful when you inhale because it can irritate your lungs. Not that you have to hold your breath, but it's just not recommended to inhale any large amounts of lime. I'm getting ready to mix this. I have a chopstick sitting here. You can see that I let it sit, and then I mixed it all up, and I'm getting that ready to go into the jar with the eggs. I wanted to mix this really, really well and just incorporate that lime into the water. So I'm just taking it and whisk and whisk and whisk. Here's my jar, all ready to go. And when I was pouring this in, I realized that it's going to take more than just the 1 quart of lime. I did 4 of these jars, and I think I ended up using 6 quarts of lime. I'm just a little bit short in the jar, so I gotta go mix up another jar. And I'm back. I'm just pouring the rest in. Make sure when you're doing this is something I didn't pay attention to, but make sure that you are leaving 2 inches of headspace between the eggs and the jar. You can see that the lime's already settling. That's fine. It'll go in and get into the porous surfaces, really closing up everything so that no bacteria can grow. Hey guys, new day, outfit change. It is no longer raining and it is sunny, which is why I kind of abandoned the video. I didn't have all the parts that I needed. I was getting the pickling lime, trying to figure out how many eggs went into a jar, and I thought I'll bring you guys along while I'm doing it. So a couple of things. One mistake I made when I was doing it was you have to have 2 inches above the last egg. And so truthfully, only 16, maybe 17, depending on the size of your eggs, fit into this jar. Obviously this is done now, but let's talk about the why a little bit and the how it works. So when I was talking to Joseph about what I was doing this week, he's like, you need to tell them why that works. Why does it work to put pickling lime in here and it preserves unwashed, clean farm eggs in the lime and they're fine? Well, it's because it lowers the acidity level. Why we have bacteria growing and why it is a problem is if it is the right growing conditions. So when you have the right growing conditions, bacteria grows, which is why we add acid to things and pickle them and make them more acidic, or we can go the opposite way and make it too alkaline for a bacteria organism to grow, which is what we've done here. The unwashed eggs have a special bloom on the outside that stops them from absorbing any of that. And the only thing that I've heard people complain about, and this is like back and forth on whether people think that this is the way it is or not, sometimes the yolk breaks down, and so they works well for things like scrambled eggs and baking. But why I am doing this is mostly because, one, I wanted to try it, and two, I have a surplus of eggs. And so when you do have that summer surplus, saving for the winter is half of what I do here on the homestead. We go through, we have pantries in our basement, what I love to call the larder. These will go down in the larder. I've put lids on them. We'll label them with the date, and I'll put these down in our larder where it is cool and it is dry, and they will live down there until I need a dozen eggs, and then I'll bring them up, put them on the counter during the wintertime, and pull eggs out as I need them. Like I said, the only mistake I made previous was just in the fact that you need to make sure and have that 2-inch headspace. And so yeah, truly only 16 eggs fit in this jar. Now I have a lot of these jars, so for me, that's not a big deal. I went ahead and found a sale and I invested in these jars back when we were getting a lot more milk, and I would keep milk in these jars because they're big enough that it'll hold a good amount of milk, but not too big for people to pour. So since I have a lot of these jars, I can put eggs in them. Now technically 16 eggs is enough for one scrambled egg meal for our family, but that is putting other things with those scrambled eggs. We're probably having toast, we're having veggies or meat or whatnot inside the eggs, maybe veggies or meat on the side. It's not just scrambled eggs. So think about that with your family size, and is this a good way to do it? I know people who water glass in bigger buckets, bigger jars. This just happens to be what I have on hand. I hope you've really enjoyed coming along with me as I learn how to do this. I appreciate you sticking through the video as I made my mistakes and fixed them and changed how everything worked. Again, it's great to have you guys here, and thank you for coming on this journey with me. Until next week.